Welcome back, everybody, to another round of 0 Point Reviews. I am your host, Jeff, joined as always by my co-host, Kevin. And this week we are doing 1994's The Shadow, starring Alec Baldwin and Penelope Ann Miller and Tim Curry and a slew of other very popular actors and actresses from around that time and after, directed by Russell Mulcahy. Kevin, we're kind of on a pulp hero kick. What do you think of this one? And when's the first time you ever saw this?
I'm almost certain I saw this in the theater. My grandparents kind of got me into this. My parents weren't really into radio shows. My grandparents, they had told me about The Shadow, and I'd found the cassette tapes one day prior to the movie coming out, and God damn, did I just kind of fall in love with that whole concept of the radio show. And then I went to see the movie and was just kind of like, oh, this is so cool. Loved it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was the movie's demographic back then for like a 14-year-old kid. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, this is pretty dope. I'm a little older than you, but I just about had the same kind of experience. Although I was a little younger, my grandfather had some of the cassette tapes, so I would occasionally listen to those or watch movies with him. He was like my movie nut of the family that kind of guided me into being a movie guy. And he had the cassette tapes. So growing up, I would sometimes listen to one here and there. And I always was like, this is pretty fun. This is pretty interesting. I never really sat down and went through them all. I know they're available out there in various incarnations. You said Spotify has a list going on. I know you could buy these off of Amazon or eBay. And real quick, we got Amazon links down below. So we are a member of the affiliate program. We have the Blu-ray link, the DVD linked, and I got a few other things linked down below. Please do check it out. If you do order, that kicks us back a little bit. So anyways, back to the actual point here. 0 Point.
What movie were we talking about again?
True Lies. No.
Ah, yes, so, Arnold.
Well, that was in the 90s too, but like, so I had that fun experience growing up with like my grandfather and at least having access to being able to listen to some of the radio dramas. But I never saw the comic books, never knew it was a comic book or anything like that of any sort. Then this movie came out, and I saw this in theaters in La Jolla when I was still living in San Diego. And surprisingly, the theater was not exactly filled. There was not too many people in there, but there was a bunch of people my age that were basically in the theater. And I'd say there was probably about 50 of us in what would seat about 150. So it felt like a third of the thing was filled, but it was also an early showing. I used to keep my movie tickets, or I'd be able to pull that out and tell you exactly what date and what time that was. I could probably tell you it was the Saturday after it premiered on probably the Friday night, but the next day. And I loved the movie. I actually went back several times and watched this in the theater multiple times because I enjoyed it so much. Nice. And there's just something about this movie that just works for me. Now, I'm not like the hardest of core of fans for The Shadow or anything like that, but I like the Tibetan stuff. I love the Purba. I have a replica. It's at my dad's house. I hope to bring that back in the next few weeks when I go out to visit him. And I got some other swaggy things, but I got a freaking ring. Shadow ring, an actual one. And nice. I got like movie buttons. I mean, I'm not trying to like show off or nothing. These are fun things that I've collected, and I got like laser discs. I have promotional videotape.
Hey,
VHS. My original VHS is on the shelf back there. You probably don't even care to see that. I have the very first gen DVD, one of the first DVDs ever released on the DVD format. CD case with a slipcover.
That's pretty cool, man.
I got my original DVD, and I got a few things all related to the movie, but I love this movie. It's one of my personal favorites. So when this came up, I was pretty happy to get into talking about this, The Phantom, and of course, The Rocketeer coming up. And then ultimately, the movie that got made as a result of not being able to make The Shadow, Dark Man. So that's a tip off for what's coming up next, everybody. Going into Rocketeer, then we're doing Dark Man.
Yeah, and spoiler, I hate that movie.
You don't hate that movie. You're married to that movie.
I saw that one in the theater twice as a kid.
I saw that like 2 or 3 times, yeah.
Yeah, I loved that movie. I rented it
so twisted
all the time.
too. Yeah, if there's one thing about this particular movie with Alec Baldwin is this one is not so dark and gritty as like Dark Man is. So
Right.
this has a bit of a balance of a lighter fare to it. It's a lot of fun. It's got good action. Wish it had more action in it. It was kind of lacking for being a kind of a superhero-ish comic booky kind of style movie, but the music is great. That's what I would say trumps most of these movies that we're talking about, except for maybe Dark Man. You got a Jerry Goldsmith score going on in this bad boy, and it's outstanding.
If I may, it's on par with Dick Tracy. Like, it's a really good score. It fits really well with this movie.
I suppose we could have added Dick Tracy to the rotation. Oh.
Now I gotta go find that too. God damn it!
You're welcome, and I have to go buy it because I don't have it at all.
I have the old DVD.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if it's been upgraded to Blu-ray or not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
but yeah, golly, back to the swag. You'd also have the novelization if I was like more of an organized kid. I just went through my boxes and I could not find it today.
Oh, that's okay.
I found Terminator 2 and Gremlins 2 for you if you want them, though.
Oh, the Terminator 2 that actually makes a little more sense of what's going on in the movie.
Yes, that one.
Yep.
That one. So I wish I would have found that like a few weeks ago, or no, last year when we did that movie. But anyway, Zero.Point.
That's another one for the list.
So this movie being an adventure and not being so dark and gritty, I think looking back, this was much darker and much grittier than, say, The Phantom was. Like The Phantom had a much more like feel-good Harris comic book kind of feel to it.
I would agree.
Yeah, which is fine. That's everything has its place. The Shadow,
there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, had that more of a. Well, I think at the time when we were kids, it was Topps was publishing The Shadow, but it had that dark, pulpish feel. Actually shot at people with the guns, not shot at guns to disarm them or
anything like that.
Yeah. Like he was a very formidable foe, and the penalty for crime was usually death. Like he was not fucking around.
No, you're talking like something that feels like it's truly set in the 20s, the 30s, early 40s. And that is also another thing that works for me is the overall setting of this movie in New York. It feels like you're in the middle of some of that. Now, they don't really get into any of like the prohibition or anything like that. They're all clearly drinking just fine. So we're probably after that. Boy, did Alec like his martini in this movie, I gotta say.
Yeah, between he and Jonathan Winters, it's like always food and drink happening like throughout the entire thing.
Uncle Wainwright. But I love like the decor, the set dressings, how everything felt very like
authentic.
I don't know, sophisticated and classy, while maintaining a sense of otherworldliness of this movie that could possibly coexist using telepathy at times and reading people's minds and just blanking people's memories of a giant building the size of the Empire State Building. But if you're lucky enough, you could get pushed off the top and nobody notices.
And
So if you
nobody
fall off the top of the Empire State Building, Kevin, would anybody hear you if you went splat?
eventually. Once
That's like the one thing in this movie. I'm like, that's kind of random as he's falling, and then all of a sudden, you know, a realization comes to the movie. It's like, oh my god, that's almost too funny.
It should pan like 70 years later to somebody like giving a tour guide saying, and that's how these fences got here.
Yep. And if you're wondering why the flowers are here, they've been here since his mother passed away.
Whoopsie doodle. But
Sorry,
no,
Santa boy.
I liked Shiwan Khan. I
Yes.
don't remember him from the shows, and I never actually got to read any of the novels. That's going to be on my to-do list before I die.
Yeah.
But I dug his character on this. Kids at Home, he's played by the same actor that plays Ricky Tan, one of the bad guys from Rush Hour 2. Definitely fucking kick-ass. Watch that movie. But he
also the lead actor of The Last Emperor.
Yes, he was, wasn't he? Well, it's the adult.
Much younger though.
Yes. Yeah. God, that was a good movie. Sorry, that's a 0 Point in general.
We're referencing the Academy Awards from years ago, not 2 days ago.
Well, the funny thing is that's not one of those movies that you'd think Kev would be like, I really liked that, but it was good.
It was good.
Anyway.
Well, it's important to note that because of how they set him up as like the descendant of the great Genghis Khan. So it's not like it's lacking for any sort of connective material between the movies, like at all. It's just, it's completely different dynasties and who he's playing, but it's just funny to see him go from like that serious role to something like this in the shadow of of Khan. I'm the great descendant of Genghis Khan. I intend to rule the world with a nuclear bomb.
Right? Why don't you come hang with me? It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad offer, but no one ever said it with the respect it deserved. Khan!
Khan!
I liked the set design, like you were saying. I liked the way he looked. He sent himself Looney Tunes style from Tibet from Nepal to fucking New York. It took 3 days where he was in this sarcophagus absorbing his great grandfather's energy.
Yep.
So that when he emerged in New York, he would start to take over the world. Sounds great on paper. Probably smelled real bad in there, I'd bet.
No wonder why he took a deep breath when he removed the mask. Oh, clean air.
1,000-year-old mummy farts. Oh God.
Goddamn grandpa.
Depends.
Did you think I wouldn't know?
There were little moments in this movie where it really did feel like you were watching a visual version of one of the old radio shows, and that was one of they were far and few in between, unfortunately, but that's kind of the way the 90s was. Like the 90s had superhero movies that you'd have to see their faces all the time. So like most of the time you see Alec Baldwin's face or you see Lamont Cranston, you don't see the shadow.
Right.
It worked out in this movie because you're not supposed to see the shadow. But every once in a while you do get to see a really great shot where where is it? Here it is. Like this is what your imagination produces when you listen to the radio shows.
Exactly.
And it was just done really stellar. Like it was beautiful. There was a bit of bad CGI in this movie, as there was in every other 90s superhero movie, but this movie did it sparingly and actually made it look good. When he's going to reach out to Reinhardt to hypnotize him, and all the art canvas came up off the wall.
The tapestry.
Yeah. it looked like it was 3D because it wasn't supposed to be there. And it looked perfect for that scene. It's like, bravo, they made it fucking look good for something.
Reinhardt's Lane. Okay, Ian, you're up. Put the booze down. Light up a cigarette. Let's go.
Light up a cigarette. That was funny. Like, I don't ever remember Ian McKellen being young. Ever. Ever.
I'd climb a mountain for a llama.
That was funny as hell. Mainly because I used to be a camel man myself, but the fact that it's got like a beehole looking mouth the whole time, and it just keeps blowing O-rings out of a sphincter looking thing. It's like
super funny. I love the spoofs.
Yes, there was a lot of homages in this movie, and they're not campy. They're a little tongue in cheek, like llama, camel. You have to get it. Yeah. It's not slapstickish. There is no cartoonish humor to this movie at all, like there was with the Phantom.
Yeah, this is a little more updated, mature-ish sort of kind of comedy. So this is not really designed for kids. They're clearly trying to capture the essence of, say, like the Batman movies without going full Batman in it.
Well, I don't know about that, because by the end of the movie, what do we got here? Where is it? Oh my God, it just deleted my picture.
Oh, Kevin.
Oh, wait, nope. I found it. There's this beautiful shot where the lightning crashes and his cloak just flows out like this, and all I can think of is no, not Batman. But it looked cool. So,
Yeah, okay, yeah, I will give you that part. I mean, it felt like giving an homage to Batman, even though Batman is more based off the Shadow than anything.
You mean Bob Kane stole the Shadow and turned him into Batman?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the thing back then. The Shadow was first.
Yeah, he's gonna be like, I got this character idea. Bill, draw this for me.
Yeah. I think both coexist very well. I love the Batman, and I also equally really like the Shadow. So
there is a point in time where Batman is very much like the Shadow. And there's a point in time in history in comics and TV shows where he's absolutely not. This feels very much like Batman 1989, Batman Returns. It is much more serious than, say, Batman and Robin and Batman Forever. That's where you get into the cartoon sounds. It's not dark and gothic anymore. It's really camp and cheese.
Yep.
This avoids all that. It's still not R-rated. You're not going to see people totally getting run down with Tommy guns like you do in Godfather. Although Tim Curry does go to town with a Tommy gun for a while, and it was pretty entertaining.
I do have a clip of that, but I did not upload it.
Actually, about that scene, like, kids at home, if you haven't seen this movie, go see it just for this scene. The Shadow drives him mad, scares him so fucking bad that all he could do is just turn around and around and around in circles with his finger pulled down on a Thompson machine gun and just firing around as fast as he could at everything, and misses the Shadow completely. And he gets in his mind and makes him see the window saying exit, and he just jumps out the fucking window of a fucking huge ass building.
Well, Tim Curry was absolutely fantastic in this role. And he's a guy I have seen in so many different things, from Legend all the way to Clue to then, like, say, The Shadow, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Dude is like absolutely phenomenal. And I like seeing him in the pinstripe suit, acting all cocky and douchey. He's a great little, like, second tier henchman for, Khan, and I absolutely love him in this movie, and just having him cackling with the machine, with the gun, and then just going, "Come out, chicken." Fight. It's like, you want him to, okay, he hasn't fought you yet. You really want him to fight you? It's like, dude, you are completely delusional at this point. And I know for some people that might feel a little too overboard, over the top, super campy, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's too much for you. It fits what this movie does and what the Shadow does. He drives people crazy and then he takes them out. He gets in
Yeah.
their heads, he messes with them. This is what he does. And if you're not picking that up very early in the movie, what he does and how the use of the mental powers he has and Shiwan Khan and what he ultimately ends up doing, convincing the city that a building doesn't exist, then I think you might have missed the point of what they were telling you about with their powers in this movie and how they were trained by the Tolku. So I think it's very important that when people want to bag on, say like the third act, you also have to take in the great context of the first two acts leading up to that. But just to tie it right back to Tim Curry, loved him. He was a great secondary villain in this, and he had a great ending and a great swan song, so to speak.
Swan song, right?
Because he went eyeing for the exit.
But I mean, in regards to what you're saying, where he was calling him out, calling him a chicken, when you get your ass kicked and the person fucking starts to walk away, what do? You get up, yeah, keep going.
Well, if you want to catch another clip of him, because I do have one here, his relationship with Margot is simply outstanding, especially when he says something like,
Fascinating woman.
It gives you the creeps. And it's like, oh, he's a sleazeball. I would die.
And he's so good at this character. He's good at everything. But the sleazeball slime wad in this or Congo, so amazing.
He's
and
so
always,
good at being that character.
Yeah, it's always entertaining. It never gets old. And even though it's the same type of person, it's never the same character at all. It's like completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a brilliant, brilliant actor. And one of those people where you're kind of like, damn, I feel better for living in the time that he lived.
I know, right? I mean, I wish he was in better health condition now. I mean, the most recent thing I saw him in is my wife and I are rewatching Monk. And for a brief part in the Monk TV show, he played Dale the Whale.
Did he really?
Anybody remembers Monk? He was one of the 2 to 3 actors that played Dale the Whale.
That is cool. I did not know that.
Yep, he was great in that too. So power to him. But there's also a great cast in here too. Like people might remember Everybody Loves Raymond. Peter Boyle's in this one.
Yes.
Great taxi cab guy.
Mo
Betta Blues.
I can't think of his name. The last name. I remember the first name was
Shrevnitz.
Shrevnitz. That's right. And then we've got Steve Heitner here. Coob's here. Like, I cannot see these two guys and never not smile. Like, I love these two guys so much in movies.
Exactly. Because Coob, we say Coob, that's not the actor's name. That's the character from Parker Lewis Can't Lose. It was the tall guy, beefy looking dude. He always went by the name Coob. It's like, God, I remember in the theater, I just went, Coob?
What was the name?
And it didn't take me out of the movie. It's just, hey, that's great to see him in a movie.
Steve Kubiak, dude.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things I will always remember, always cherish about my childhood, just like, it's an instant smile to see certain people. And those two are two of those people. But the great thing about this movie is every actor in the movie is like that.
Yes.
All the bit parts are great actors. Gerald
They did not cut any corners or do anything short with them. Everybody had something that they brought in very particular to each role. So if they had a word to say, they nailed it. It added to the story. If they didn't say anything, they did at least have some sort of action that they were committing, because even at the end with Uncle Wainwright, when he sees the building, He doesn't say a word. He just reaches into his coat, pulls out his flask, uncaps it, takes a sip, and he goes, mm,
Mm.
mm. And it's just so well done. I'm like, he didn't have to say a word. You could tell just by his facial reaction and his movements, like, oh, fuck, I need a drink for this one. You can't make this shit up.
No, you can't. And I loved Uncle Wainwright because looking back, he's very much an allusion to, or the basis of, Gordo. Like,
Yep.
Lamont disappears in the middle of a conversation. And they're like,
Completely.
no. Yeah. And all I could think of is Gordo in the back of my head going, yeah, you get used to it. Like,
yeah, I know, right?
he was
But there's
cool.
no bat signal, there's no shadow signal, but he does have the sanctum.
The sanctum.
Which is one of my favorite hideouts next to the Batcave, straight up.
Yes. The sanctum was way cool. It reminded me a lot of the Deadly Nightshade's sanctum, or his little lair in Central City. But I have the same complaint about that as I have with this.
What is your complaint, Kevin?
Shit goes down. The city's in trouble. You live in the suburbs. You have to drive into town through traffic during an emergency to get to your fucking shit. Change, then get back out to the emergency.
Shit.
That's why Bruce had the Batcave under the fucking house. He just had to go down the stairs, or even better, the bat pole.
Well, the sanctum was in the city proper, so he wasn't actually going into like the suburbs or anything.
No, I know. I'm just talking shit. But getting back to Bruce and the Batcave, one of the things I do want to point out, all kidding aside, is Alec Baldwin is probably the second best Bruce Wayne I've seen to Michael Keaton.
Well, this is almost proof concept of what Ben Affleck was able to do later on as the Batman in, I know, regardless of what people think of the movies, almost everybody pretty much agrees. Ben Affleck actually did very well as Batman and Bruce Wayne in those movies. It's just it's unfortunate he got straddled with such shitty scripts. Just ask Henry Cavill about that. But like, you take one look at that jawline and the haircut, it's like, this is Bruce Wayne, but this is the shadow version of what we would later see with Ben Affleck. It's like, Alec Baldwin could have made a pretty good Batman. Not saying he would have been perfect or better than anybody, but he might have been all right too. I don't know if he was ever considered or ever read for it, but at least he was willing to take a chance with like this kind of a script / movie. I don't think he's really all that well known as being like a sci-fi guy. I mean, the most I think he's done close to this before or after it was like the Jack Ryan movie, Hunt for Red October.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
The one and only one he did.
Was he Jack Ryan in that one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I saw that one like once, a long, long time ago, and then I became a bigger fan of Clear and Present Danger. And I was like, was it Clear and Present Danger or Patriot Games that came out next? I liked those two. Yeah, I got stuck watching those two instead. And I just
that's when Harrison took over the role of Jack Ryan.
Yeah. I should have been a bigger Alec Baldwin fan as a kid than I was. I mean, I was a fan. Don't get me wrong. I still am a fan, all things considered.
Yeah. And no, we're not getting into that, everybody. We're talking about the Shadow and his career before the current day stuff. So, but I'll say this: I was not a fan of 30 Rock much. For anything recently current or Saturday Night Live stuff, he's okay. He does have comedic chops. He doesn't really get all that comedic in this movie, so it's really hard to say how well that would have ended up working out. But leading up to the Shadow, I knew of him. Wasn't he married to
Kim
Basinger or Pfeiffer?
Kim Basinger.
It was Basinger? Okay. And that's what I largely knew him from, because I would watch, like, back then they had, what was it called? Entertainment Weekly whatever the 30-minute show was on TV. I would always watch that, and they would talk about like him getting married to her and everybody screaming, why does Kim want to marry him? And I don't know, but I always thought he was a decent actor, and I like him just fine as an actor. So I think he did just fine as Lamont and the Shadow, and ended up being a pretty damn good movie to me.
I think so, and really, this is the way I like to remember him. It really, really is.
I don't like you.
I love Penelope Ann Miller. She was flawless in this movie.
She really was. She was like, this is going to sound weird. I love her in it, but I didn't like her character.
Oh, I liked her character. What didn't you like about it?
It was forced in a way. Like, I don't like when a movie has to have a romantic aspect to it to get more butts in the seats. It detracts away from minutes that could be kicking ass. And it also detracts away from his business of kicking ass, like the business of actually like saving the city. But they made it a little bit interesting in a way, but passe that, oh, she's the one person who he can't fuck with. She's the one person that gets inside his mind. It was a little cliche. It was. I'm sorry.
No, I could see that. I'm a little more forgiving of it because I'm a fan of her as an actress, but also as part of that role. I see that that gave the movie a little more depth to it, and that's something they could build off to if they were going to go into another sequel / trilogy, because this was intended to be a franchise. When this didn't do well in the box office, those plans ended. So they really wanted this to be the start of something. So they were probably trying to look towards building towards a bigger and better role for her. And they didn't want her to be the typical damsel in distress. And she did okay, but when she was kind of off with her dad at the end, it just felt more like the bickering mother or bickering daughter with the dad trying to disarm the bomb. That's where I think her character gets a little weak for me. But overall, the romance part, it's nice. They have great chemistry. It's not like that felt like completely out of place. Like, man, I ain't feeling that at all. No, I thought it was very appropriate, well paced out and spread out. They just dash it about like maybe every 15 minutes or so. There'd be a little something, an interaction, going out to dinner, having a kiss, or she's imagining something happening and he's imagining his face getting ripped off and he becomes a god, which led to one of the best. That led to one of the best scenes between the two, where she's like, "Oh, I was dreaming I was naked on a beach, having this, that, and the other. What did you dream about?" "Oh, I dreamed I ripped my face off last night and I became somebody else." She's like, "I think you have problems." So there's some really good moments in character building between the two. I like their relationship. I just felt like she kind of got a little lost during the last part of the movie, and largely because they wanted the showdown between Khan and the Shadow. And we didn't need to have anything in play in between. We didn't need her getting saved, dad getting threatened to be killed or shot unless you do this, that, or the other. They uncomplicated the final battle and just kept it simple and to the point of keeping it between Khan and the Shadow, Lamont Cranston, which ultimately plays out very well. I know some people feel like there's not enough action straight up like fighting between the two, but it's ultimately a battle of their minds versus each other and their perspectives and their views on how the world should be handled and each other. Khan continuously through this movie is trying to convince Lamont he wants Yinko to come out of Lamont Cranston. He wants the old savage bastard from Asia. I don't know which country they found him in. I kind of forgot about that. Whether it was Tibet, maybe it was Tibet. I don't know. But, he was trying to pull out that old savage and have him join him. And, Lamont's fighting his inner self as well as fighting, Khan, trying to save the city and whatever other inner demons he's dealing with. And so it's very compelling. It doesn't translate terribly great on screen, but I love how he's able to exert control over the Purba. He's able to turn the battle around and start putting Khan on the defensive, all the way up to the mirror shatter spot, and then the shot to the fucking head.
Yep, the coup de grace. It was really cool. It was cool as hell. And I enjoyed that part, and then they cut. I thought they should have cut, but they added a scene in, I'm sure it's probably because of testing, where you find out that he did not kill Shiwan Khan, but basically fixed it so they had to take a chunk out of his brain that supports telepathy.
Unless you believe in telepathy, I think you're fine.
Yeah, and he's got this look on his face like, fuck.
Well, I really love the construction of that scene where he's just sitting there. Of course, he's all straight-jacketed up, and the orderly is bringing in the food, and he commands him, sit down. So the guy sits down, all dead serious. And he starts trying to get him to command him, and the guy, after like a few seconds, is just like, that shit don't work. That's nice try. You're cute. And then ultimately, like you said, find out he's been basically lobotomized a little bit. And he just walks out. He's got the ring on his finger. Then you hear everybody saying, I'm Delano Roosevelt or whoever. And all these other funny names. And it's like, okay, that's a good comeuppance for him. He no longer has his power. He's completely shut in and locked away. All right, here we go.
And he is with the dregs of the earth.
Oh, yeah.
It was a fun finale. Again, I wish they would have killed him, but you can't always get what you want.
Yeah.
Tim Curry got the death, and that's why I'm kind of like, but not kill Shiwan Khan? All right.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
It didn't make it unenjoyable at all. Like it just gave me an extra joke in my mind. It was like the shape of it makes a G. So I'm like, the G stands for goofy. Or the G stands for God damn it.
Gotcha.
That too. That was the other one. And I couldn't decide, so I just left it blank. I'm like,
That's catchy.
Hey. He had one of the best parts in the movie. He was doing product placement, if you will. They stuck him in cement shoes.
Hard as rock, and you'll always stay standing.
That's right. That's right. That was cool as hell, because you hear stories about shit like that, the cement shoes and then going to sleep with the fishes, but you never actually get to see it. And they show it on here. And he kicks all these bad guys' ass. And the doctor thinks that the Shadow's going to shoot him because he pulls out his 2 pistols and he starts firing away nonstop.
Yep.
And the guy's like screaming because it's all scaring the hell out of him. And he looks down and all the cement's gone off of his feet and the Shadow's gone.
Yes. But then a cab shows up. Get in the fucking cab.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, wait a second. That's not how guns work.
Exactly.
That's
especially those kind of guns.
Yes. But I asked you the other day if you thought that they were nickel or silver plated. And I believe that they are silver plated with the mother of pearl handles. And they are beautiful pistols. And that's about as far as they go. Those handles will break the moment you fucking pull the trigger because they're not as hard and compact to absorb the recoil. But what made them special is these pistols that he had were not common at this point in time. In 1931, the 1911 Colt was not like a civilian model pistol.
Right.
Guns were still pretty much single action revolvers. You had to pull the trigger and pull. Or, I'm sorry, pull the hammer back and pull the trigger.
Right.
So his guns were bam, 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 which again is nothing now. But at this point in time, made him a superhero. He had that leg up above the bad guys.
Yep.
And they
have the
looked
tech
pretty.
advantage. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like Agent 47. I'm just throwing that out there.
Just saying.
Agent 47's got the best guns in any game, and those are the silver Ballers.
Ooh.
I want to say that's what these are, but these are way too old for that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, that I just 0-pointed myself again. The guns.
Well, you're talking about that scene at the beginning with the cement shoes and everything, and almost right away you see how well this is shot, considering the dark colors and the dark lighting. And I know I've already played this clip once before, but when you actually break it down and pay attention to it, you can see the guy in the foreground is kind of off-centered, and then the background is shot with the two guys behind him.
Did you think I wouldn't know?
And like you continually to see that throughout the whole movie. And Russell Mulcahy, great director. He's done some amazing work. He did the Highlander movie. He did kind of Highlander 2, depending on the version. He largely did the Renegade version. So that's the cut to watch when it comes to Highlander 2. But he's a pretty good director and a good eye for visuals and very good editing. So he had a great cast and crew going on here to like really make this movie look good, sound good, and just flow very well. I love the cinematography in this, like, completely. It's just stunning, beautiful visuals. We had mentioned earlier the CGI. There's times you can see the CGI, the frames of the matte paintings, yada yada, but it doesn't feel so horrible. It actually feels like maybe it's a little more of a pulp comic book come to life, and it's more that theme than anything that would attempt that these days, where it would try and make it look too perfect.
Yes, that's actually 100%. And another thing that they did was with those sets that you were talking about is they painted them so that they were nighttime colors. They didn't have to like blue filter or anything. Like everything
would
was
have thought
done.
they would have done, but they didn't.
Yeah, it was cheaper just to make everything look like it was at nighttime.
Yep.
Wow.
What a concept.
Yeah. Like it was all done really smart. This movie's a sleeper. Not everyone has seen it. Not everyone thinks it's going to be that cool. It is. It's a lot of fun. It's not too much. It's not too little. It's not too dark, and it's not too campy.
It's very well balanced overall. Like there is a good consistency to this movie that surprises a lot of people. And I know some of our audience will completely disagree with us about like the consistency of this movie. We know one in particular. Emmy, talking about you.
Okay, I have a question. I've always heard you say that the first and second acts are completely solid, but people don't like the third. I didn't have a problem with the third act. What is it that like gets people's goats about it? Is it the chasing the bomb scene?
I think it's a bit of that. I think it's a bit of, I don't know. We'd almost have to have somebody come on here and specifically break it down for us.
What don't you like?
But ultimately, I think a little bit of the running around with the bomb, the diffusing that was distracting from it. Also, the reveal that the building might have been hidden from the entire city, including Lamont, for so long.
But that was
that's
cool.
part of what the story builds up to. So I don't feel like that's a problem. Maybe it's the ultimate climax. Maybe you wanted to see a fist fight between the two, because clearly they're both like bulked up dudes who can fight. And that's why the Tulku brought them in to break them of their evil ways and set them on the path to do right in the world. One did, one did not. 007 versus 006 from GoldenEye. You can't have, I don't know. I don't know what people were looking for or expecting based on the first like 2 acts. I feel they all flow very well together. I think the ending's perfectly fine. Would I have liked more out of it? Absolutely. We all have our ideas on how this movie would have ended. Kevin talked about it himself. He would have liked to have seen Khan actually get straight up killed. Me, I would have liked to see an actual fight between the two, not a telepathic battle. I get that out of Dark City perfectly fine with the telepathic battle.
Neat.
The little tongue twisting with telepathy. But, I mean, I honestly don't understand what people wouldn't like about the third act of this when basically it starts off great, it ends great, in my opinion. We all would like something more out of every movie we ever like. There's only one movie I wouldn't change a second about. This ain't that movie for me, but it's still one of my top favorites.
I'd agree. Like the only part that I'd probably edit out would more than likely be the red and the green swap.
Yeah.
One, because it's stereotypical of people on the spectrum. I don't necessarily like ableism. And two, it's too campy. Like, yeah, I know they said Einstein would go outside without his pants on because he was too busy thinking about other shit, but come on, y'all. Let's be a little less stereotypical. Beyond that, it's awesome. I dug this flick. I just do. I don't watch it nearly as often as I should. And this time around, I kind of thought to myself, maybe I should watch it a hell of a lot more often than I do, because I enjoyed every second of watching it. Not every movie that we look back on do we enjoy as much as I actually did enjoy watching this again. Like The Phantom. Of course, I enjoyed it, but not as much as I enjoy this. And I saw them both in the theaters.
Yeah, and I would say basically the same thing of I enjoyed this movie rewatching it way more than I thought it would, to the tune of I watched it 3 times. I didn't watch it just once. I didn't watch it just twice. I've watched it 3 times leading up to this review. And it's like, man, I really, don't get me wrong, everybody. I like The Phantom just fine. I just happen to gravitate more towards The Shadow. I think it's a better constructed movie. It's got a better director. It's got better music. It's got a better setting. This is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree. It's fine. It's fine. But I think overall this is a better movie. And I would change a couple things, but I wouldn't change a whole lot. It's just personal preference for me. And, the only thing I could possibly think about is, man, I would like this on 4K or something like that. I'd love to see it get a little more love. That's why we're ultimately doing some of these movies, to remember these awesome, fun movies, because we're not getting a whole lot of movies like this these days. From The Phantom to The Shadow to Rocketeer to Darkman, we're not getting these movies anymore, everybody. And when we're watching these, we're like, this is comfort. This is relaxing. This is fun. Or we wouldn't even be talking about it. So I love this movie. I have it on just about every format. My laser disc is around the corner. And I'm a total fucking nerd. I got magazines with The Shadow on the cover with articles in it. Like, I like this. I love this movie. I'm not ashamed to say it. I love this movie. Now, the only other thing I'd really like to talk about with this is the fabled Sam Raimi attempt to get this movie, The Shadow. And of course, we'll talk about this more on our Darkman episode, but he tried to get the rights to this a long time ago, and he couldn't get it. And I don't know why they still couldn't keep him involved with, like, say, like this movie. It just it didn't work out. Maybe he was busy on something else, or they just didn't want to work with him for whatever reason. I wouldn't say Universal didn't want to work with him, because he's worked with Universal Studios quite a bit. Army of Darkness says hello, and so does his Jack of all trades, the action block with Hercules. He's had a very good working relationship with them for years. This was a Universal movie. So, Kevin, why do you think he never got the rights to this? Ultimately, in 2006, it sounded like they got it, but by 2007, nothing was moving forward. So they eventually did get the rights, but we're still kind of at a standstill with getting another Shadow. Got any thoughts about any of that?
Yeah, but none that are going to sound nice.
Or do you want to save it for Darkman?
I think studios look at Sam Raimi and see the little Evil Dead nerd. And yeah, that's him. He made those movies, of course. That's what he's famous for, but he's a very smart man. He's a very fun man. I don't know. He's very committed to his visions. And
Yes.
we talked a bit about that before the show started with Spider-Man. He gets leaned on by studios so much. And I think he works better, so much better without studio involvement. And the most recent and best scenario or example that I could think of that is Multiverse of Madness. Great movie, but Disney wouldn't allow him to see anything else what was happening. So he had to make a story that actually made the rest of MCU suck for phase 4.
Yeah.
Like, the movie itself was great. There's no denying that's a fucking cool ass movie. It's a neat horror film for something that's not Werewolf by Night. But I don't know why he doesn't have the pull with the studios. Does he not have enough fans? Like, people love him. I don't know anybody that I talk to, like personally socialize with, that doesn't like Sam Raimi movies, at least one of them.
As far as I know, everybody who's ever worked with him loves him. Everybody. I've never heard anybody say one bad word ever about Sam Raimi. I think it might be more of, I don't know. I think it's just a creative vision sort of thing. Somebody at one of these studios needs to be familiar and a fan of his and allow him to have the free reign. Like, we know with at least the Spider-Man movies, he was getting there until Spider-Man 3 when they kind of capped him off at the knees. It's like, yo, you basically gave him almost carte blanche with Spider-Man 2, one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made, period. I love Doc Ock. That was my jam for a movie. And then Spider-Man 3 happens and it's like, oh shit. And then, they probably think he should be pulling in better box office than he does for his movies. Maybe that's what it is. He doesn't make enough money, quote unquote. But dude's got chops. He knows what he's doing. He can direct the shit out of just about anything. I love For Love of the Game, his baseball fucking drama movie. Does anybody talk about that? No, because when you think Sam Raimi, you think horror, science fiction. That's our guy. Dude is super capable of doing so much more. And I think if he had a chance to do the Shadow, maybe not initially, maybe he needed the growth of his career and knowing what worked, what didn't work. Doing the Spider-Man movie and getting a feel for like how studios would react to this, that, or the other. When he got the rights in 2006, I think that was probably the best time for him to get the rights, but it just never went anywhere. I would love to see what he could do with the Shadow. I don't know who the rights are ultimately with now. If his production company still has them, that'd be great. Or if Sony has it and it's on lock. He was ultimately working with Sony on getting one going. It just, nobody knows where it's at. Nobody said a word since like 2008, 2007. So you're talking 16, 17 years. I think he would do a very awesome job. And I think he'd be the guy to bring this into the modern era just fine. He'd probably still keep it a period piece. I think that'd be fantastic. He's a detail guy. Totally be cool. And if you needed to be family friendly, he could make it family friendly. You just can't pour gallons of blood over your hero for like an hour.
It's got to be a flash of a second, but you got to get it all on there.
And make sure some of it gets in his mouth too. Poor Bruce.
Poor
And
Dana.
of course, you know Bruce Campbell will get a cameo in the movie too.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be pretty funny. And Ted would get a role in here. He'd be the new Reinhardt Lane. I could see that now.
Or Burbank.
Or Burbank, yeah.
Yeah. Which they didn't give Burbank enough scenes. I mean, I know there wasn't much he could do, but he's the mailman, for lack of a better term, for the Shadow. Between he takes all the messages from all the agents that the Shadow has from across the world.
Yep.
They have this like completely intricate, crazy series of tunnels of windpipes or air pipes.
The tubes, yeah.
That your bank used to use to like blow checks up to different areas or whatever.
I love that thing. That was great.
Yes. Well, outside of the fun for actually just playing with them, yes, it was a fun idea for the movie too. But it was just so cool. It was like sending pigeons in a way. And this guy's just like mixing messages in all different directions. It was cool as hell. I liked it.
Yeah, I love the whole setup for his operation was just well done. And also having like video capabilities through a TV screen. Like, damn.
Yeah.
Dope. I mean, of course, in the 90s, we were already seeing stuff like that in like Star Trek and whatnot. But like, just to kind of give you the hint that maybe in the 30s/40s, we might have had a little bit of technology like that is pretty dope. And I love, like, God, that just gets me talking about the set design again with all the details with the cathedral radios, the speakeasies, the supper clubs, the singing and the dancing, everything. Ugh. Speaks my language.
Yeah, like there was love and time put into this movie, like research and genuine care that people looked as accurate to the Cotton Club, which was the Cobalt was supposed to be, was the Cotton Club. And kids definitely check that out. That is like a wonderful trove of music. It really was. And they almost recreated it like table for table in this flick. And it was really cool.
Yeah. And I think some of that you could give credit to David Kep, the screenplay writer. He actually constructed the story, and he is a known fan of The Shadow. I know some people may say, well, if you're a real fan, you wouldn't have done this or created that. No, he was a fan. He was trying to make it work for the big screen. And I think without him being involved, I don't think this movie would have ultimately ended up getting made as it did. We might have gotten something not good to downright bad.
It might have been on MST already.
Yep. And I got a special place in my heart for David because he's a Wisconsin guy, and got to give him credit. He was at the UW for a couple of years before he went to Cali to get into film.
To get into film and make things like this.
Yep.
You can't say this is a movie. This really is a fun flick for like, I mean, it's not rated R, it's not PG, it's PG-13. So I mean, it has certain guidelines, but it gets around with implications like the killing. It doesn't necessarily always show the killing, but it's most certainly implied that person fucking died. Like jumping off the Empire State Building.
Yep, that guy was going splat.
Yeah. He made it all the way to hell in just one shot.
Yeah, if anything, man, watching this just makes me want to go track down the toys, because I never knew about the toys until like maybe a week ago. And it's like, how did I not know about the goddamn action figure toys for this movie? I know they look horrible, but I kind of want them.
Yeah.
Oh, you knew about those?
Yeah, I did. I didn't have one, but I wanted one, and I'm probably gonna look for one at this point. They had an ad for it that I found online. I posted it in the Facebook group last week. So it's like it's got like all the different characters there. It's like submarine version Shadow, and like because you can't have just one. There's got to be different versions so you could sell more action figures. So he's got to be ready for water, got to be ready for air, land, sea. Well, that's already water, snow.
Just to share with everybody. Here are some of these
Yeah,
fancy toys. They're so dope, dude. Just saying. Just saying. Like, oh
so
my god.
that one that you're hovering over, that one glows. That one
Yep.
was kind of cool. And then the one to the lower left, that was the generalized one, I think, that had a cape that came off.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he just kind of looked like a like Black Knight or sheriff, for lack of it. Yeah, there he is.
Yep.
They weren't bad. They weren't good.
Yeah, the
but they
actual
weren't bad.
shadow ones I would want.
Yeah.
And I know they got the car and the bike with the missile launcher, man. Like, where was this shit in the fucking movie, dude? Oh, here's the taxi.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah, I might be taking a look at some of these, but I just wanted to share that while we were on here. And well, I'm also thinking about that for any of you collectors out there now. There's also something that's coming out very, very soon. It is Mesco Toyz, and they're putting out a shadow figure.
Wow.
Looks really dope. I love the black and the red logo.
Yeah.
Tommy gun and everything. Scales of Justice.
My
and
wife's
Devil's
gonna
Whisper
fucking kill me.
FX. I'll just show like a couple more here. I think the haha is just the graphic. I don't think there's actually like an invisible sign there.
Aw.
But just to throw that out there, Mesco M-E-Z. What is that? MEZCOTOYZ.com. I'll also put a link down below. No kickbacks from us on that. Just wanted to share that with everybody. So if you're into that and you liked what you saw with that toy, that might be pretty damn dope.
I do like what I saw with that toy. My wife's gonna kill me.
Yeah, well, we'll kind of see what I can make work. I am selling some stuff on eBay for our podcast and uploading and updating our equipment around here. So we'll see what can happen. Kevin, what would you rate this out on a 10-point scale before we say goodbye to everybody?
Okay, so this got a 6.0 out of 10 on IMDb. I would give this one about a 7.3. That's where I 7.3 to 7.5. This is not like your 8.0 and above type movie. It's a little bit lower budget than that. But it's not bad. There's no inconsistencies in the writing. It's really well done. There are no bad actors in this. Everyone is a cameo appearance for lack of a better term. And it's just a perfect popcorn flick.
Yep. I'd probably go more of a solid 8 myself. Largely because that Jerry Goldsmith score just completely like brings it up a level. And not to say the movie doesn't have flaws. Of course, it's got some flaws. I love it just the way it is. Wouldn't change it for the world. But we all got things that we would have done differently with this movie or wanted done differently. But ultimately, we got a fantastic movie, super fun time rewatching, and hopefully a fun discussion for everybody. So if you liked this video, please hit the like button down below. Got any favorite comments, memories of this movie? You own this movie? Did you have this DVD for years before they finally gave you a widescreen release on a Blu-ray? Like most of everybody else in this world. We'd like to hear it down below in the comment section. And please hit the subscribe button. We got plenty of other videos like this. And coming up next week, we're doing the Rocketeer. So make sure you hit that bell notification so you get notified when it drops. So thank you everybody for tuning in. We will see you all next time. But one last thing, Kevin. The sun is shining.
But the ice is still slippery.
Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at SunsAndShadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.